Even though I don't recommend eating McDonald's often, I do understand that sometimes you're in a bind and on the go and you just need to grab something very quickly for yourself or your family. And so today I want to talk to you about some of the low carb options that I would eat at McDonald's, or how to modify some of the things that they have in order to not compromise your health and not spike your glucose or insulin like crazy. So first, let's start with breakfast. Unfortunately, they don't have too many breakfast options that you could even modify to make low carb, but there are some that you can do. So if we look, a lot of them have protein sources and they're just compressed between bread or a biscuit. So all you would need to do with like the Egg McMuffin is remove the bread. Same thing with the Egg White Delight muffin. With the sausage, biscuit, and egg, you would want to remove the muffin. Obviously, that has a lot of carbohydrates inside of it. But if you're having the sausage and egg, you're probably pretty good. The other options are bacon, egg, and cheese bagel. Just remove the bagel and you have bacon, egg, and cheese. That's a great option. Maybe get 2 of them and you're probably hitting a good amount of quality protein for breakfast. You obviously want to stay away from things that look really delicious but have a ton of carbohydrates and a ton of fat, which is the cinnamon melt. You want to avoid that like the plague. And then you have the options of the bacon, egg, and cheese McGriddle. Just remove the bun. Same thing with the sausage biscuit. Just remove that and you're left with the sausage. Now, I know there might be some alarm of what's in the sausage, so I went and looked at their menu and found out what the ingredients are in the sausage. And if you're keto or you're super low carb, you might freak out upon first look at looking at these to go, oh my gosh, it's not just pork. Inside of it, you see pork, water, salt, spices, and you see dextrose and sugar, which are basically the same thing. Now, at first, that looks scary, but in actuality, it's not that alarming because it's in very, very small amounts. This is actually the same ingredients that you would see in like a Jimmy Dean sausage. So is it perfect? No, by no means. However, it's not going to knock you out of ketosis or spike your insulin as long as you don't eat 5 of these things, right? So I think that's a great place to start for breakfast. Now let's jump over into lunch and talk, or dinner, and talk about what we would have during these times. I love this depiction. It's by @CheatDayDesign. He did a great job breaking this down with calories, fat, carbs, and protein. And so we talked about breakfast items already. So we're going to focus on some of the things that you might not eat for breakfast and instead have for lunch or dinner. The same rule applies. Most of these things are completely fine if you just remove the bread, right? So you can get a hamburger, remove the bread. You can get a cheeseburger, remove the bread. McDouble, which is one of my favorites, remove the bread, right? Double cheeseburger, triple cheeseburger, Big Mac, all of these things can be suitable and keep you low carb. Again, not all the time, but when you're in a bind or you're on the go, perfectly fine. Just remove the bun. Same thing with quarter pounder and cheese, double quarter pounder with cheese, double or quarter pounder with bacon, remove the bun. One of the hacks I've seen a lot of people do, and it works, sometimes it doesn't work, is you can go up and you can just ask them for hamburger patties inside of a bowl. And it's typically less than if you were to order a cheeseburger and just remove the bun. So that's a little hack for you if you want to spend less. Just ask for hamburger patties, maybe get 3 or 4 of them, and you can even ask for them with cheese on them and just eat those. And that's more of a carnivore approach to eating at McDonald's. Now, here are some other trickier options, right? I'm going to skip the McChicken because we'll talk about that in a second. You want to avoid the filet of fish. It's breaded, it's coated. You really want to avoid that. You definitely want to avoid the crispy chicken sandwich. Again, fried, coated, has a ton of breadcrumbs on it. Not something that you want to consume if you're trying to stay low carb. As delicious as they are, you also want to avoid the chicken nuggets. Why? Because again, they are breaded, right? Of course, you're going to be avoiding the apple pie, the fries, the vanilla cone, and the McFlurries. You probably don't even have to ignore the McFlurry because the machine's never working anyway, so you don't even need to worry about that. But let's come back to the McChicken, because there's a lot of people who come to McDonald's and say, hey, I want to order a healthier option, and maybe they're not a big beef eater. So they say, you know what? I'm not going to get the crispy chicken sandwich. I'm going to opt for the McChicken, right? It looks a little bit healthier. Is it grilled? Is it not grilled? So again, I went to McDonald's and I pulled the actual ingredients inside of the McChicken patty. This is just the patty. Because you go, oh, well, I can remove the bun and I'd be fine, right? Not so fast. If you look inside of the McChicken patty, the first ingredient is boneless chicken. Great. But then it goes downhill. You see bleached wheat flour. You see vegetable oil. They have a combination of vegetable oils, which again are highly inflammatory oils that should not be in a chicken patty. Then you have wheat flour, you have modified cornstarch, you have dextrose, which is basically sugar, and then you got some extra cornstarch just to throw on top of it. The reason being is because the McChicken is also coated. So they use a lot of these flours and a lot of these vegetable oils to coat the McChicken. So unfortunately, it's not just grilled chicken, it is coated. And so you want to avoid the McChicken as well. The last thing I want to talk about are the salad options. So unfortunately, during COVID, when it was very important to stay metabolically healthy, McDonald's failed us and they got rid of their salads. They recently brought them back, and depending upon your location, the salads are different, but here are the two main ones that they brought back in their new recipe. And again, you could probably think through of which one would be better. The first one's going to be your grilled chicken salad. It still has about 6 grams of carbohydrates within the grilled chicken salad. The other one's the crispy chicken salad. That one you're going to want to avoid, right? It has 17 grams of carbohydrates. Again, fried, has a big coating on it. You're going to want to avoid that one. And the last thing I'll say about the salads is keep in mind, just because it's a salad doesn't mean it's always going to be better for you or low carb. And this is a perfect example of doing that. The other thing that you want to keep in mind is make sure you're cognizant or aware of the amount and the type of dressing that you are putting on the salad. A lot of times you think just because I'm eating salad, it's going to be low carb, but then you throw on an Italian dressing or a vinaigrette that has a ton of sugar in it, and you just took this from 6 grams of carbohydrates upwards of 30 or 40 or 50 grams of carbohydrates just by putting the dressing on it. So stick with lower carbohydrate dressings, things like ranch dressing or things like blue cheese, instead of going, or even some olive oil if you could, instead of going for some of these sugary options. So that is what I would do if I was eating at McDonald's. I'd love for you guys to share with me what are some of the other items or some of the other restaurants or fast food chains that you would love for me to talk about. Let me know down in the comments and share this with someone that you know that either eats at McDonald's frequently or might stop there occasionally, just so you can help them live a better low carb life.